Welcome to the Middle Room Workshop. Today I'm going to show you LaserWeb, an alternative to LaserGRBL and LightBurn. Without further ado, let's get into it. If you've been into the laser engraving world, you have most probably used softwares like LaserGRBL and LightBurn. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to give you a very brief summary on what the major differences are between the two softwares. Now, LaserGRBL is a free software which is available only on Windows, and it is the basics to control your machine and to manipulate raster type of files, so images, pictures. Okay. LightBurn, on the other hand, is, in my opinion, the best software for laser engraving, and it comes built into a vector editing software. And the most interesting feature of LightBurn is the layering system, which enables you to basically group things together in one project, put them into different layers, and then to assign different parameters to each one of the layer individually. And so it is well suited for complex and more intricate projects where you have multiple power and speed settings in order to achieve cuttings, fill engraving, outlines, and so on. Now, the software is not free. It comes to a price tag of about $50 and is available on both Windows, Mac, and Linux. Now, you can also create more intricate projects in LaserGRBL, and I've showed you this in some of my previous videos, but there is a little bit of workaround. It's not that simple. Now, LaserWeb, it's another free application, and it's like in between the two worlds, and so it will basically give you the opportunity to control the machine. You can upload files, you can do pretty much what you can do on LaserGRBL, although it is a little bit limited into the raster editing tool. Now, you cannot create stuff like you would in LightBurn, but you are able to basically move around and do very simple manipulation with them. And aside from it, the most important feature is the layering system, which in this case it's called operation. So you are basically assigning operation to the various objects. Now, before getting into the software itself, before to show you the interface and how to actually work with it, let me tell you that the software is going to work only if your machine runs a GRBL 1.1 F or higher. So F or H, I think H is the latest one, by the way. And so if you have an older version, this is not going to work. So if you have an older version, you can actually try to update the version. However, that at times might not be a very simple thing, and that's because some manufacturer, some brand, it's actually running a customized version of the GRBL firmware. So it is something that I would highly recommend you to check with the brand to see on their official site, or to contact them if they have the update, and also if you can manually update the board like you would with the typical Arduino board. Okay. Now, with this out of the way, let's get into the actual software. First, I'll show you very quickly the interface. Now, there are plenty of things going on with the software. Bear in mind that the software is designed to work with both laser engraving machines as well as CNC routers. So you will see plenty of options and parameters which are suited for CNC router. So we'll obviously discard that for this video, but it's something worth for you to know in case you are in both worlds. So you can learn basically a software that can work with both type of machines. Okay. The other thing is that the software is going to allow you to basically work and manipulate files, which you can then export into Gcode. And so even if, for example, you are not able to directly connect your machine with this software, you could prepare your file. You can export it into a .nc code, for example, or some Gcode that can be read by the actual controlling software, and then to use that software, for example, it could be the free LaserGRBL, in order to actually send the job to Engrave. Or if you have an offline controller into your machine, you can use an SD card, you can upload the Gcode there, and you're basically good to go. And so these are the various options of what you can do with this software. Okay. All right, let me now show you the interface. Now over here to the extreme left, you will see there is this navigation menu. So you can see files, comps, control, settings, and about. And so under the comps, you have everything about connection. So what we care about is machine connection. Obviously the machine will connect through a USB, and here you will need to select the USB serial port. So when you click on the drop down, depending on how many machines are currently connected to your computer, you will see more or less options. So in my case, I know that the COM7 is the machine. And then the baud rate. This is 115/200 is the most common baud rate for desktop laser engravers. So you can be assured that this is going to work out. Okay. Now, once you're ready with that, you can simply click on connect. And over here to the bottom right, you will see there is a log window where it shows all what the software is doing. So you can see the machine is being connected, then there's been something going on, and then firmware GRBL 1.1F detected. And so everything is good to go. Now, as I said, if your machine has a different firmware which is not recognized, the machine will simply connect, and after a couple of seconds, it will throw some error, and then it will tell you that the machine has been disconnected. Okay, and so that's the only way to see whether or not you can actually work. Now, once we do that, before to go any further, let's step into the settings. Okay, now here I will show you only the settings that you will need in order to start up with the software. So everything else will come along with some additional tutorial if you are interested to. Now the first thing, we have to select the type of machine. So most desktop laser engraver, they obviously run a GRBL firmware and board, and so you will click on generic GRBL machine. So once you're done with that, you can click on apply. Okay, now in my case I will discard the apply because I already set the machine, so I don't want to lose the settings, so I'll give it on cancel, but that's what you will need to do. After that, you will need to go over to machine. Here is where you can set up the width and the height of your machine, so basically the engraving area. Now in my case, I'm showing you this tutorial using the Neje Master 2S Plus, and so that's a 255 420. Now this is basically going to show you the engraving area over here. If you don't see it, it's because this show machine is toggled off, as you can see. So you want that toggle on so you can see where you are with reference to the machine. Okay. Now here there are other things that you might want to have a look to if you are interested. For now, they are not interesting. After that, you can go over to application. Here you can set the width and the height of the grid. This represents the actual grid that you can see over here, which is shaded right now. And then the spacing of the minor lines, which are the lighter lines, and the major lines or spacing, which is the major ones, the thicker one. Okay, so these are things that you can customize. Also the feed units, if you want in millimeter per minute or millimeter per second. Okay, and the other thing is the raster image position. So when you load in a picture or any other type of image, where you want the reference point to be taken, usually the bottom left, it's the common sense one, but if you need to, you can put it to the center, to the left, or whatever you find it useful. Once you're done with that, you can go over to the control tab. And here to the control tab, you will find all of the tools that you need to basically control your machine, like the jog tools over here. Here you will have the X, Y position, the feed rate, power, and so on. So Let's first of all home our machine. So let's click on home. So the machine will go back to where the home position is. Obviously, in order to home, you need to work with a machine with a home. Okay, I've discussed this in some other videos. And then you have typical buttons like job, start. This is to abort. This is to set your custom origin, and this is your framing button like in other software. So here it's called check size. Okay, here you will be able to jog around, so you can see that the laser moves. Over here you can set the increment of how much you want it to move. Okay, here the speed at which you want to jog for X, Y, and Z if you have it. Here you will use this go to XY0 if you have set your custom 0 over here. And then laser off, if your laser is on, you can basically toggle that off. In my case, the laser it's off. It's only visible, the low power laser right now. Okay? Once you're done with that, let's move over to the most important part of the software, which is where you set up everything about the file. Oop. Yeah, by the way, so if you hold down the scroll wheel, you will basically zoom in and out, but you can also use the scroll wheel as normal in order to do that. And if you move around with the left button of the mouse, you can basically pan around. Okay, so and then you have also over here, in order to control the canvas, the match. This will match the entire size of the canvas, and this is the document when any document is loaded in. Now the file, let's try to add some file, and we can see over here these are all of the file formats recognized. So from raster like JPEG, PNG, to Gcode like Gcode G, and then you also have SVG and DXF. Okay, and so you have quite a lot of flexibility there. Now let's start with an image. Okay, there we go. All right, now this is the image that I've loaded in. Okay, now you can select it. That's something that you cannot do in LaserGRBL, and you can move it around, or you can use this to move it relative to the frame, or here you can also set some stuff. You know, you can also set the minimum, the maximum position, and all you might need in order to work out with it. Okay, now you can pull in the data from the image itself. You pull this raster option, so this is the actual size that is in the file itself embedded. Okay, now here you have filter and trace. Here you can do some manipulation, but I would highly recommend you to do this from the operation pane. So I will close this out for the moment. Here, if this is on the way, you can select, you can click on this corner and this will move around, so you can put it out. Okay, the other thing here, you can set the rotation angle, say for example 10 degrees, and then you can rotate anti-clockwise, clockwise, or you can also flip around. Okay, so that's just there for you to know. All right, now we can select the project from here, the image, or I will highly recommend you to select it from here. Here you will see the list of all the files that you've loaded in. Okay, so here you can toggle this on and off if you want to see it or not. Let's now create an operation. That's what you would do with layers in LightBurn. So to do that, we can click on create single. Okay, now the software, it's smart enough to detect that is an image, and in fact it will tell you laser raster. This is the option. Now in the drop down there are a bunch of options. Here to the bottom we'll discard them. They are for milling CNC routers. All we care is here on the top where it says laser. Now obviously it's a raster, so the only option available is laser raster and then laser raster merge. So let's go with laser raster for the moment. Now here you will be able to set your minimum and maximum power, and so I'll set for example 80%, Then the width of the laser, this is going to correspond to your line interval, okay, in LaserGRBL and LightBurn. So let's say 0.12. Then the number of passes, the cut rate, we can set it up to 3000 millimeters per minute. Oops, 0.1. Yeah, let me correct that. Okay, and here you have some option to trim pixel, join pixel, burn the white, or if you don't want the white to be burned. I mean, these are things that you will need to play around. They are highly dependent on the type of image that you will import on it. Okay, and then down here you will have some filter. You can do smoothing. You can adjust the brightness, the contrast, and the gamma. Also the grayscale, what type you want, the average, luma, or whatever, the shades, how many, and the method that I usually recommend is to use dithering. Dithering is basically going to mimic the pixels with laser dots. Okay, so once you're happy with that, now if you have to import other things, I will suggest you to simply collapse that and to work around the other operations. But anyway, once you're ready with whatever is here, you will go over to this Gcode tab and you will click on generate. Yeah, and now you can see that we have the progress bar running. And as you can see now, everything is red. So if we zoom in all the way, we can see still the lion on the background. Now here you can play around with what is shown in the canvas. You can remove for example, the show Gcode. This is not going to show you the lines of the laser as it's passing through. And you can also remove show documents. So this is going to show you exactly how the lion is going to look like. And the other thing is that you can simulate over here. You can see how that's going to work out. This is something that you have available, for example, in LightBurn. Now let's load something else. I will toggle off the image for now, and I will also switch off this operation so that whatever is with this operation, in this case is our image, is not going to be output. So if I do generate Gcode, you will see that nothing actually is there. All right, let me now add some new document. Let's go over to project and let me take, now you can load, for example, let's go over to assembly. You can load the Gcode. Okay, so open it up. Now, let it finish to load. Oh, yes. It looked weird because the Gcode is off here. Okay, so you can see it better. Now, the Gcode, like in other softwares, you will not be able to do much with it because that's something already generated by another software with all the settings inside. And in fact, if we want to, over to the Gcode tab, you can click on the eye, and you can see over here, this was generated by LightBurn, and we have all of the parameters that we need. Okay, and so this is going to work as expected in other software. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to what you see over here now with the operations and the file, this is basically called a workspace. In fact, you can save a workspace, and that's going to be saved in a JSON format, and you can also reset it. Okay, so I'm going to click on reset. Okay, and that's going to clear everything up. Now let's load in some other type of file. So let me see, for example, laptop. Yeah, let's see, for example, the site DXF. This is a CAD type of file. So so this is easier. Now, here with the DXF, every object it's independently selectable. So if I come over here, you can see that I can select stuff. Okay. And so what you want to do, if you want to select it all, you don't have option to drag and select. You can click it over here from the side pane, and then you can take it and move it to wherever you want, or you can use these tools in order to move it to the 0 position or however you want it to be. Okay, and so Now here, in the very same way as for SVG, which I'll show you in a while, you can basically select things independently and you can apply operation. So it will be like applying layers in LightBurn, okay? And so over here you can see that in DXF files you will see the same in SVG files. You have the plus, and that's because you have the various objects that can be selected. See, for example, this is layer 0, everything was on one layer. So here will be very helpful to layer or to name or to group stuff together in order to use them more efficiently within the software. But you can see I have this polyline, then I have another one, then I have the arcs, the lines. So you can see I can select stuff individually. So let me go over to this polyline. So say for example I want this to be cut. I can click on create single, okay, and now I can over here you can see that I the software have selected the appropriate operation, but if we want to we can do something else. Now as you can see here I have laser cut inside and outside. Now this extra laser cut, they apply Kerf, which is the thickness of the material, so they account for that. In fact, if you select one, you can see here on the thumbnail, you can see where the dashed line goes for inside and for outside. Okay, let's keep it simple. Laser cut. Over here we can set our power, say 95%, passes to 1, and a cut rate of 300 millimeters per minute. Okay, now if you want to apply the same operation to other stuff, you can basically, for example, take this, you can drag it and drop it inside underneath, okay? Or alternatively, you can also use the control key. You can select multiple ones and you can drag them and drop them over here. And so all of them now, they have the same operation applied to it, okay? Then once you are ready with that, I can basically come and click on generate, and that's going to basically be very fast, okay? Let's now collapse this site.dxf and let's take another file, an SVG file, for example. Let me take a plate. Yeah, let's take this plate over here. Okay, open up. Now it will take some time to load. There we go. All right, now here again, I can select stuff individually and I can move it around. And bear in mind that when you do that, there is a little bit of lag. Even if you control Z, you can see that it's not actually doing the movement from when you took it to where you dropped it. It's going to do fraction of movements there. And so if you want to, if your intention is to move the entire thing, you better come over here and select it all, and then you're able to move it around, okay? Now, again, let's apply different settings. So we can eventually come over here and select with a control, we can select what we want to, okay? Or alternatively, we can expand the SVG. You can see there is a group here, and then we can select the individual paths, okay? Let me take now the first path, which we know this is going to be cut for this particular project. And so I can create single, and now I could actually take this and I could apply it here, okay? Because effectively I'm going to cut the same material, and so I can do that, or I can remove it. And maybe I can say cut inside with some curve, okay, and to apply the various settings, including the laser diameter in this case, in order to account for the curve, for the thickness. Alternatively, the software works also with a database, and so you can actually load from material database. Now I have created something here for cutting. Let me see, plywood 3mm cutting. So I can click that and it already applied everything. So let me expand it. And as you can see, it is over here. Now, the material that you assign out of a library, you will see that they have a name on them directly, okay? So it will be much easier to distinguish them if you don't give names to your other layers, as you can see over here. Also, you can save to material library. For example, here, you can give it a name, and you can tell what type it is, and you can basically work that out, okay? So let me drop them down. All right, so this was for which? So expand, so this is for this one. And now I can instead select this one, and I can create another single. This time I want this to be filled in, and so I can drop down and to say laser fill path. So now here, the line distance, this is the line interval, like it would be in LaserGRBL or LightBurn, so 0. For example 12. Then you can apply the line angle if you want to, say for example 45 degrees. Then the laser power, say that's going to be filled engraved, so say for example 60%. Margin we don't care. Cut rate, let's do it 2000 millimeters per minute. Okay, I mean just it's random. And so then, as I said earlier, I can select the other ones, use the control to select the rest, okay, and I can drop them inside. So they will all have the same thing applied to them. Now, there is something that I don't care, for example, in this project, which are this stuff over here. So I can select them all, okay, can select more, the text, we don't care. And I can basically remove them like so. Okay, and so now once you're ready, you can click here to generate the G-code. Okay, so this is going to take some time depending on the complexity of your operations and project. Alright, so once it's ready, let's once again show the G-code, and you can see over here that we got our 45 degrees fill engrave and our line over here. Now, if you happen to move the something after you generated the G-code, you will need to regenerate that. Okay, so that's something important to know. The other thing, you can move the order of the operations. Say for example, in this case for this project. Now let me toggle off this project over here. We don't care. Let me also select this all and let me put it down to 0. Okay. Now you want the fill to happen before the engraving. Okay. So what you can do with the arrow, you can basically move this up. So first we will do the fill over here, and then we'll do the actual cutting. Okay, and so once that is done, you can click on generate again. Now once you're happy with all of your settings and operation, and you have generated a G-code, you can either save the G-code, okay, and to do that over the G-code tab here, you can click on save, and you can save that in some readable G-code file for your controlling software if you're intending to use it there, or for the offline controller. So for example, we could save into NC. Okay, this is some file type that LaserGRBL can read. Okay, or you can directly send it to your machine if your machine connects to the software. So let's go over to the control tab. Over here, before to do anything, let's home the machine. This is good practice because you might have moved accidentally the machine. Now, once that is done, you can basically jog around, for example. Okay, that's something that you would normally do with LaserGRBL. Okay, like this, and perhaps 20 millimeters to the right, and then you can set your 0 position. Okay, now here we can frame it, or we can check the size. That's the way it's called in the software. Alright, now once you are ready with that, once you're happy with your framing as well, you can basically click on run or job, and that's going to basically start the engraving job. And this is pretty much all. Now the software has a lot more to offer. There are many things that I haven't covered that would take a long time. Now if you found this video helpful, give it a like. If you have any comment, leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Ciao for now!